Okay, RBT practice questions. For more questions, go to my channel. I have more videos. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each question with you. These are questions that are similar to what you might see on an exam. I'm going to walk you through each answer choice and give you the right answer. So follow along, try to answer them before I go through them, see how well you do. Number one, which of the following behaviors is defined in observable and measurable terms? Okay, keywords here, observable and measurable. Anytime you're talking about a behavior or want to define a behavior, it has to be observable, it has to be measurable. Okay, so let's look at our answers. Jerry's anger causes him to often be out of control and receive suspensions. The word that should jump out to you is anger, okay? We never want to say the cause of a behavior is a feeling, okay? So Jerry did this because he was sad, all right? Why? Because if I want to ask you, if I asked you to go measure anger, how would you do that, okay? And how would you measure anger the same way I measure anger? Okay, we might have different definitions of anger. We might perceive anger differently. Okay, so this can't be right because we never attribute behavior to a feeling. We can't observe it. We can't measure it. So A is wrong. B, Jerry pokes others with his index finger. This looks pretty good. Could you measure poking? Yes. Could you observe poking with index finger? Yes. B is good. C, Jerry has autism and his aggression are an outcome of this. This immediately should be a no for you. Why? Jerry has autism. The behavior is the result of the autism. We never say behavior is a result of the diagnosis. Okay, so C is immediately out. D, Jerry believes that others are out to get him and reacts to his perceived taunts. Again, D is real similar to A. Feelings and beliefs. Okay, we never say feelings and beliefs are cause of behavior. Okay, these are events that we can't see, we can't measure them, we can't observe them. Okay, so anytime you see Jerry believes or Jerry feels sad or Jerry is happy, okay, I can't ask you to go measure these things. Okay, so we need to define the behavior in a different way, in a way you can measure it. Okay, so Jerry pokes others with his index finger. I can measure that, right? We can track that over time. What's the right answer? Jerry pokes others with his index finger. Frequency and rate are often used interchangeably, however, there is a distinction. Which statement is correct? This question is asking, okay, what distinguishes rate from frequency? Because in ABA and in practice, a lot of times you're going to hear the word frequency and rate refer to the same thing when technically they are a little different. Okay, so this question is asking what makes them different. A, frequency is more accurate than rate. Well, if you know what rate is, okay, you know this can't be true, okay, because frequency is a component of rate, okay. B, rate has greater reliability than frequency. Again, similar to A, okay. If you know what rate is, you know this just isn't the distinction, right? C, rate refers to frequency with an addition of a time component. This is the only correct answer, okay. So the reason frequency and rate are used, okay, so often to describe the same things is because rate is just frequency, it's your count, with time added, okay? So for example, if I told you to get the frequency of the time somebody raised their hand in class and you counted 5 times and your frequency was 5, to get rate, you would just add a time component. So 5 hand raises per hour, okay? That hour makes it rate. So C is correct, okay? D, only rate is event recording. Again, no. All right. So C, rate refers to frequency with the addition of a time component. Rate equals frequency over time. The most common form of graph used in ABA is, this one isn't complicated. All right, you just need to know it. It's a line graph, okay? We can use other graphs, but the most common form that you're going to see is a line graph. An RBT may be asked to assist with functional assessments using indirect measures. These measures include, so what is the key word in that question? So when you're reading these questions, okay, you want to look for your key word, your key definitions, okay? Because typically the answer will be hiding in the question. So functional assessments, okay. Oh, indirect measures. Well, what is an indirect measure? Okay, an indirect measure is when you're not observing the client, okay, or the subject. So let's look for one of these answers where we're not actually observing the client. A, functional manipulation in analog settings. Well, if we're manipulating things, okay, in a functional way in a setting where we're trying to determine behavior, okay, or determine the cause of a behavior, and we're observing the client, that's not indirect, okay? So A is wrong. B, functional manipulation in vivo, okay? So functional manipulation in a real life setting. Again, if we're observing the client, okay, is that indirect? If we're manipulating things in their environment, no. So A and B are wrong because we're manipulating things in their environment and measuring, okay, and observing how behavior is changing. So we're directly observing them. We're looking for an indirect measure. A and B are wrong. C, observing. Well, this one should almost immediately be out, observing a subject and taking data. Nope, not indirect, okay? D, conducting interviews and surveys, compiling rating scales and questionnaires. This one looks pretty good, right? Are we observing anybody? No. We're just asking questions, okay, taking rating scales, okay, and doing surveys. There's no direct measurement, there's no observation, okay? It's all indirect. So D is the correct answer. So a little tip, right? In the question, okay, look for the keywords, okay? You know you're looking for something where we're not actually observing a subject. And so that should make that question easy because A, B, and C, we're all observing the client or observing a subject, okay? The goal of a stimulus preference assessment is to, so let's go back to our idea. What is a preference assessment? Well, we're looking for something the client may like, right? Stimulus is just an item, right? Thing, okay? So A, test reinforcers for an individual. So this is a preference assessment, not a reinforcer assessment, okay? So we're not testing reinforcers, okay? We're just testing stimulus, okay? We don't know yet, okay, if they like them, if they hate them, whatever, okay? Just because something is preferred doesn't make it a reinforcer. That's a very important concept, okay? Just because somebody likes something doesn't mean they're going to be willing to work for that item, okay? So if you're testing reinforcers, you'd be doing a reinforcer assessment. We're not doing that. We're doing a preference assessment, okay? Determine items or activities that will be punishers for an individual. Again, we're not looking for reinforcers. We're not looking for punishers. We're just looking for what they like, okay? Identify objects, people, or activities that may be motivating. This looks pretty good, right? That may be motivating. So if we're doing our preference assessment, we're looking for items that they like, okay? And once we find out what they like, then we're going to find out if they're motivating. So this one's pretty good, okay? C looks good. D, help a client determine which intervention they would prefer. Well, we're not looking at interventions, okay? We're looking at stimulus, okay? We're looking at things like trains and Legos and iPads and stuff like that. So we're just trying to figure out what our client likes, okay? After we figure out what they like, then we can find out, okay, is it a reinforcer, right? So C is the only correct answer. Backward chaining involves teaching the first step and prompting through the rest. Well, what do we know about our chaining? We have forward chaining, we have backward chaining, we have total task chaining, okay? So if we're teaching the first step, what kind of chaining is that? It'd be forward chaining, okay? So that's not right. B, interrupting the chain in the middle to evoke new behaviors. This is called the behavior chain interruption strategy, okay? So we're cutting somebody off in the middle of doing a behavior or in the middle of doing a chain to see how they react and to see what kind of new behavior will come of it, okay? But is this backward chaining? No, we're interrupting the chain in the middle. C, prompting through the chain and teaching the last step. Let's go back to A. If we're teaching the first step first, what is that? Forward chaining. If we're teaching the last step first, okay, that to me sounds like backward chaining. C looks good. D, teaching only steps a child does not know. Okay, that would be total task chaining. Again, not backward chaining. What is our answer? Has to be C. Discrimination training involves reinforcement being available for one response and not another. An example of this might be, okay, so in order to answer this question, you need to know what discrimination training is, right? How do we teach discrimination? Well, through differential reinforcement. Okay, discrimination, okay, we're just able to identify the difference between one stimuli compared to another. Okay, red versus green, right? To put it simply. Okay, so a child being praised for selecting a picture of his mom when presented with an array of pictures of family members. That sounds pretty good. So you have a picture of mom, dad, sister, and brother. Okay, what are you trying to do? You're trying to teach the child that these are different and give them the ability to distinguish between them and discriminate. So if they choose, if you say choose mom and they choose mom and you praise them, okay, and you reinforce them, that's discrimination training. Okay, so A is very textbook. B, a child saying red in reference to all crayons. Well, if I have a red crayon, a blue crayon, a green crayon, and they say all crayons are red, is that discrimination? No, it's not. Okay, they're not discriminating between the different stimuli. C, a child believing that cats and tigers are the same animal. Same thing. Are we making a distinction between cats and tigers? No, okay, so it's like if I showed you a bunch of different cats and you said tiger, 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 okay, and there's 3 different cats, right? You have a jaguar, a panther, and a tiger. If you call them all tigers, are you discriminating? No. Okay. A child calling all men with gray hair grandpa. Again, are all those men his grandpa? No. It might be a stranger. It might be a friend. Okay. But if he's calling all of them grandpa, are they discriminating? No, they're not. Okay. Again, back to the specifics of our question. You're asked for specifically, okay, what is an example of discrimination training? Do B, C, and D have any form of reinforcement? Okay, any form of feedback? No. The only one with feedback is A, okay, a child being praised. So if you're very confused, okay, just really think about what the question is asking, okay? If you knew what this question was asking, you could immediately eliminate B, C, and D because there's no reinforcement involved, okay? There's no feedback, right? So A is the only possible answer here. Which of the following is the role of the RBT, you, in the service delivery system? So what is your role? Okay, conduct functional behavior assessments. No, you might assist with those, right? Back to our indirect question, but you're not going to conduct them, okay, alone, solo, or lead them. Okay, your BCBA or supervisor will. Write behavior plans. Same thing, you might assist, okay, but you won't be writing these. Your BCBA will. Implement behavior plans. Yes. Okay, your role is implementation. Me as a BCBA, I do the behavior assessment, I write the behavior plan, I train you on the behavior plan, and your job is to implement it. Okay? Design reinforcer assessments. Again, no, you might assist, but you won't be doing the designing. Your job is to implement behavior plans designed by your supervisor or BCBA. In ABA, a contingency refers to, okay, this is a good question. You need to know what a contingency is. Okay, you're going to be using contingencies every day. Okay, this is what when you're reinforcing or punishing. Okay, we're doing contingencies. So what is a contingency? You should know that immediately. It's an if-then relationship. Look at A, an if-then relationship between behavior and consequences. Okay, easy. This question should be easy, right? B, all possible skills a person possesses. No, what is that? That is their repertoire. Okay. C, unplanned factors that affect behavior. No, we know what a contingency is. It's not unplanned factors that affect behavior. Okay. D, anything a person can experience through their senses. Again, no, that would be a private event, right? How your smell and your hearing, right? Those are private. Okay. But regardless, it's not a contingency. A contingency is an if-then relationship, okay? If you do your homework, then you get iPad time. All right, so go back through those, review those. I'll be posting more later this week. If you have any questions, send me an email. I have a study guide available. The key to the exam is getting really good at being able to apply what you know, okay? So learn the definitions. Okay, and once you learn the definitions, okay, then start to apply them using questions like these, okay? So go through these questions a few times, get really good at them, all right? Good luck.